Oh, Budapest. I'm really glad that I'd been to Budapest twice before this, because if this was my first foray into the wonderful capital of the country of Hungary, my opinion might be a little bit soured. I did have more problems on this trip to Budapest than I've had pretty much any other time I've been any other place. Now, this wasn't a fault of Budapest, this wasn't a fault of Hungarians. This was mostly what I had planned out, not coming really to fruition, if that makes sense. So, the two times before that I've been to Budapest were strictly, you know, going out, exploring, having fun, drinking, seeing the sights, just your standard tourist fare. But this time, everything that I was doing in Budapest was really based on, the logistics of the trip. I had a lot of stuff to sort out before I actually started going on the cycling trip. And a lot of that turned out to be a lot more of a pain in the ass than I had initially sort of hoped that it would be. I did do some pre-planning, I did do some preparation for the logistics, but it just didn't pan out. So, let's get into some of the issues that I had and then get onto the ride itself. The three main things that I had to do in Budapest were get a room, get a SIM card, and then ship my bike case back to England. First off, getting the room was it was a nightmare. So, I booked a room on Airbnb. Looked like a great apartment. It was, nice, really good location, very affordable price. I didn't read the reviews. That was my fatal mistake, and that's completely on me. Apparently, the issue that I had with the room was the same thing that pretty much everyone else had booked had also with the room. So, it was one of those ones where you have to pay full amount up front, no refunds. That should have been a red flag, but I don't know, maybe I was just wishful thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't look at the reviews when I should have. So, paid for the room up front and kept trying to speak to the host. She had sent me an address, but it was just a street name. There wasn't a building number, there wasn't anything else to really define where this place was. After a significant period of trying to message her, I was not getting any responses back. At first, I had chalked this up to I speak English, I don't speak Hungarian. Maybe she just speaks Hungarian only. Wasn't really sure, but I figured I would see what happens. So I gave the address, quote unquote, to the taxi driver from the airport. He just dropped me off on some street and couldn't find the place. No idea where I was. Now I've got this suitcase, this giant bike case, and I'm just stuck in a random street in a random part of Budapest. So, after a few more times trying to contact this host, which was exceptionally difficult because I didn't have a SIM card, so I had to find Wi-Fi to do this. Yeah, it was a nightmare. So after wasting about an hour doing that, I found a hotel, got checked in, and then it was a Saturday. All the places to buy SIM cards, had already closed for the day on Saturday. Nothing was open on Sunday, so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna sort myself out, get the bike put together, get all my stuff prepped, so Monday I can hit it hard. And I was really trying to leave Budapest on Monday. So Sunday rolls around, do what I can do. I put the bike together, all that stuff, made sure that nothing was broken in the flight. And eventually, while I was there and I had Wi-Fi, got a hold of Airbnb, told them what was going on. She said, look, all my reviews that I've gotten from hosts have been impeccable. All the other reviews for this apartment are saying the exact same thing that I'm saying. I just want my money back. I don't need any extras, any further compensation. I just want my money refunded. And luckily, Airbnb was super attentive. They kept calling me. They worked everything out. I got a full refund. That was great. But that was really the first problem. Getting the SIM card on Monday was not an issue. I just went to a cell phone store and they got me a SIM card. No problem at all. But the next biggest problem, and this is really me just being an idiot, and I know what I was thinking, but now that I look back on it, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I had bought a really, really expensive bike case that was strictly meant to fly. And it was about $800. And I figured I could take it to Budapest, ship it back to my friends in the UK, because I was going to end in the UK. It was much cheaper to buy a round-trip ticket from Denver to London, and then a one-way from London to Budapest, and then a one-way from Thessaloniki back to London, than it was to buy a one-way Denver to Budapest, and then another one-way from Thessaloniki back to Denver. Saved probably $2,000 doing it this way. So I was like, okay, well, I can just mail it back to my friends in the UK, no big deal. Well, it kind of was a big deal. So I walked to probably 5 different bike shops before I finally found one that had a box, like a bike box, that I could fit this case in, because I couldn't ship the case just loose as the case. And I finally found one on Monday, and they're like, we have one, but we won't be able to get it to you till probably Wednesday. And I was like, look, dude, I should have already left by now. Is there any way I can get it on Tuesday? And they're like, yeah, you know what, we'll do what we have to do. We'll get you one on Tuesday. I'm like, all right. Went back to the hotel, and I was like, okay, well, I've got the whole rest of the day to burn. It's about noon at this point. I can't get the box till till Tuesday at 10 a.m. is when the shop opened. So I was like, all right, I got the whole rest of the day to burn. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Well, years ago, the Istvántalek train graveyard was a video series of mine that did really well, and it was super fun to explore. It was amazing time. And I was like, you know what? I've got all day. I'm just gonna go explore the train station again. It is technically in Budapest, but it's well out of the city center. It's really far. The first time that I went, I just rode my bike there because I was on some like $300 bike, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really mind chaining this bike to like a light pole in the outskirts of Budapest, because whatever, it's a $300 bike. Well, the bike I had this time sure as hell ain't $300. It's a very, very nice, very expensive bike that I was really relying on, and I had spent, $800 to keep it extra protected for the flight. I wasn't about to do that. So I was like, all right, well, I got time to kill, whatever. I'll just walk. This was a horrible decision. I should have taken a taxi. I should have whatever. This was the worst decision I made in any international trip I've ever had. So I start walking, and it was about 7.5 miles to the train station. So I get to the train station, and keep in mind it's like 95 degrees outside, 90% humidity, just not what I'm used to. I'm used to the hot temperatures here in Colorado, but the mass amount of humidity is something completely foreign to me. And the walk out there, yeah, it was tedious, and it was hot, and it was whatever. But then I get to the Istvántalek train graveyard, sneak in the same way that I snuck in before, and I start looking around, and it just looked odd. It's like, yeah, I haven't been here in years, but this isn't how I remember it. All of the train cars that were out in this big field, they had all been moved. All of them had been moved. And then the two main train engines that you see, the one with the big red star, and one of the other really old steam engines, those were outside, and there was people everywhere. So I kind of think that the room that had all of these train cars and everything in the previous videos, or if you've seen other videos or pictures, well, maybe they're actually trying to turn this into a legitimate museum, because all of the cars have been moved and all the cool stuff that you'd want to see are now on tracks outside, making me believe that they're going to turn it into an actual museum. And there was people crawling everywhere. So I had walked this absurd amount of distance, literally for nothing. I couldn't go explore them. I couldn't get close to them because there's people everywhere, and you're sneaking into an actual active train station, which the Hungarian government probably doesn't take too kindly to. So then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll walk back. And I walked back. Round trip, I think it was around 15 miles, but take into consideration that I'd already walked 4 or 5 bike shops prior to this, and walked to get a SIM card the previous day, so I'd done a lot of walking. Well, all this walking caught up to me, and I developed a, let's just call it a saddle sore before I had even got onto the bike. About 2 miles before I got to my hotel, I noticed this extreme pain in my nether regions, and I just knew that this was just fantastic. This is the spot of my body that the majority of my weight goes on when I'm riding a bicycle, and now it is in extreme pain. Extreme pain. So, got back to the hotel, did some investigation, and it looked like the skin down there was about to start bleeding at any moment. It was just as raw as it could possibly get. So now, and I had to pay for another night in this quite expensive hotel. So now I've spent more money than I wanted. I'm a day behind. I've got a saddle sore before I even got on the bike, and I don't have the most important thing that I needed to get sorted out accomplished. And then this huge detour that I went on to go see something really cool and make a cool video, because now I have better camera equipment than I had back then. Yeah, that was a complete bust. So I'm just fuming at this point. So that night, I didn't do anything because I didn't want to aggravate this area any more than it already was. So just got some food, went to bed. Woke up the next day. I'm at the front door of this bike shop at 10 a.m. They open up, get the bike box, perfect size to put this bike case in. And I was like, okay, I'd already spoken to DHL before I went out. DHL said that, yeah, it's no problem. You can ship whatever you want from Budapest DHL out to England. It's no big deal. All right, cool. So I box it up, walk about 1.5 miles to the DHL shop. DHL guy is like, yeah, we can ship it. It's going to be about 1,400 euros. So I was like, what? 1,400 euros? Are you out of your mind? That's more than the case is worth by almost double. So obviously I wasn't going to spend 1,400 euros on the case. I'd rather just leave the case in the street. So I went to 3 more bike shops, so walked about another 3 miles. Keep in mind it's still 95 degrees and 90% humidity. And now I'm carrying this giant box with about 20 pounds worth of bike case in it. So it's boatloads of fun. And every bike shop that I went to, I was like, hey, do you want to buy this case? It's literally been used from a flight from Denver to London, and then from London to here. It's pretty much brand new. You got all the stuff with it, all the accessories. Like, it's $800 case. I'm willing to take whatever for it. All those bike shops told me no, they didn't want it. So I was like, okay, sick. Well, do you have any recommendations other than DHL for how to ship this? They told me a place to do it. So I walked about another 1.5 miles to go back there to ship it. Luckily, the lady there, super friendly, super accommodating. And she even gave me her employee discount. She's really, really nice. It was still, 535 euros, something like that. It was a lot. But at this point, it's like, all right, I should have left way before now. I really don't want to lose this bike case or just abandon this $800. all right, whatever, forget it. Just ship it. Just ship it. I'm done. Like, I need to get on the road. I've had it at this point. And it was the most frustrated I've been in a long time, especially on some sort of really cool vacation. And like I said, this is no fault of Budapest or Hungary. If you're ever thinking about going to these places, don't let this turn you off. Beautiful country. Budapest is a lovely city. Definitely go back. In just this moment, I was just having a horrible time because of my own, I don't even know what you would call it. I was just not prepared for the situation I was put in. When realistically, knowing that I was not going to do a loop trip, I was just going to do one way, just a one-way trip. I should have just got a bike box. I should have just got a cardboard box from a bike shop for free, ditched it in the hotel, and then got another bike box later, and whatever. But this is the situation I found myself in, so it is what it is. I made my bed, and now I'm getting screwed in it, sort of a thing. So after I ship it, I go back, get all my stuff ready. I'd already checked out of the hotel. My bike and everything else was just in the lobby. And yeah, got it prepared, started pedaling. At first, I was quite nervous because the streets of Budapest are rather busy. There are probably traffic laws that I don't know. And I was quite nervous to start the actual ride to get, through Budapest. Budapest is a very, very large city. Like I said earlier, I walked, about 7 miles and still didn't leave Budapest. At pretty much any city in Colorado, if you walk 7 miles in a straight line, you're probably out of that city. You might be into another city that connects to it, but you're out of that city. Budapest is huge. It takes quite a while to actually get out of it. So at first I was rather nervous about, the actual process of getting out of Budapest. But honestly, their bike infrastructure, the bike lanes, everything else, it was amazing. Like, it was probably one of the best cities I've ever cycled in ever. I actually really enjoyed it. And now that all of the, sort of the negativity was behind me, and I really just got on the bike, I just started pedaling, and I got to, look around, see a little bit more of the city than I had seen in the small area that I had been in the hotel, seeing some of the stuff that I had seen before, and it just sort of jogged my memory of how great Budapest really was. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I could see myself going, even if I rented an apartment there for like 6 months or something in the summer and just cycled around, and I think I could really enjoy myself out there. It was just this one instance and these few problems that I had honestly thrust upon myself that sort of killed the joy for me. But it shouldn't kill the joy for you. If you were thinking about going to Budapest, definitely go. So it took a while. I got out of Budapest on all these really nice, bike paths and bike trails. There was a few spots where I was in the road, but it's whatever. It wasn't too bad. I proceeded to go to my next destination, which all these towns in Hungary I have a really, really, really hard time pronouncing. And I had booked this hotel prior, the next one that I was going to stay at my destination. And I had noticed that the hotel sort of had a restaurant, but, I wanted to make sure that I was not starving and I was well fed and maybe had a couple of snacks in my bags before I had got to that hotel, because there was really nothing around it. If you wanted to leave that hotel and even just go to a grocery store, it was probably about 3 miles. So that's what I did. And I ended up in this hotel. This hotel was actually pretty cool. It had not abandoned, but it had this Soviet bunker attached to it that they had done up, sort of like a little museum. I'm pretty sure you were supposed to pay for the tour, but I just kind of went in. And it was a pretty cool area. It was a decent enough hotel. I mean, would I stay at this hotel again? Probably not. My bedding smelled like fresh linen, and not fresh linen in the sense that, freshly washed linen. Fresh linen as in like the air freshener scent just sprayed all over this bedding. and it honestly made it a little hard to sleep, but it was nice enough. I was just happy to, have started the journey. And I went to a fish restaurant before that and ate really well. Prices were good, and yeah, I was just really excited to actually be on the road and be going. Did about a 19-mile ride that day, and I was really looking forward to all of the adventures to come and the longer ride that I was going to be able to do the next day. The ride where, I'd be able to start early in the morning and just hit it hard all day and actually make some distance. So that was the end of day one. It was frustrating. The time before day one was frustrating, but I made it, got it going, and there were some setbacks, but nothing that I couldn't withstand. No challenges that I couldn't actually rise to and get solved. No problems that I couldn't solve, and made the most of it. I'm actually right where I would have been had everything gone smoothly on Monday. Today is Tuesday, and because I was originally going to go see that Soviet city, like a day trip, rent the car in the morning, like wake up Tuesday morning, ride to the airport, rent the car, drive out, see it, come back, drop the car off right away. So I'm actually where I should have been on that Tuesday. So I'm on schedule. Just gotta forget about all the hassle to begin with. And yeah, let's try to make it to Serbia tomorrow.